If you enjoy hearing these eerie tales and want more to help you drift off or keep you up at night, don't forget to tap the like button. It really helps the channel grow. I don't think my wife is asleep. 2:49 a.m. I lie awake in bed laying on my right side. My wife is behind me. She's awake, I can tell. I can feel her staring at me from behind. She's always been a night owl, but tonight feels different. She feels wrong. She's breathing heavy. I should check on her, but for the life of me, I cannot bring myself to turn around. 3:03 a.m. I can feel her moving closer to me. She moves ever so slightly, and I can feel her touch the back of my hair. Is she caressing me? The hairs on my neck are standing up. Why is her hand so cold? I can see the door to my room through the darkness. My entire body just wants to jump up and run to it. I can't do that. I'm being silly. 3:13 a.m. She's right behind me. I can smell her breath. It's horrible. I've never smelled her like this before. I can feel something pressing into my back. Is it a knife? It doesn't feel sharp. I gotta do something. I decide to jump up and turn the light on, but right before I do, the hall light turns on. I can hear my wife coming up the stairs. She's on the phone with her mom. I can hear her crying. Apparently her grandpa died earlier today. He never liked me. Maybe that's why he decided to pay me a visit tonight. What's a weird or unexplained experience you had while in the hospital? Back in August of 2020, I woke up one morning and passed out and threw up blood all over the place. I was rushed to the hospital where I then learned that I was very close to dying because I had a massive stomach ulcer and I was bleeding extremely bad. My stomach had filled up with blood while at the hospital before being rushed into emergency surgery. I was terrified. I didn't know if I was going to make it. And this woman came into my room. She looked at me and asked me, "Are you doing okay?" I said, "Yeah." She then asked me, "Are you scared?" I said, "Yes. I am not religious at all." But she asked if she could pray for me. And I was so worried about not seeing my kids again that I said, "Yes, please, I don't remember the prayer." But I remember she finished and told me everything is going to be okay, and that she'd see me later. She left, and I never saw her after that again. I was in that hospital for 17 days. Then I thought about it. I realized she wasn't dressed like the nurses or any other staff. She wore all black, and it has me wondering who or what was she. I had not been given any pain medicine or anything yet, so it was not a hallucination. I've been thinking about it for 3 years now, and I need answers. Found on an iPhone search history. Hey Siri, show me funny videos. I'm bored and grounded. Hey Siri, show me funny videos. Hey Siri, show me funny TikToks. Hey Siri, show me videos of people falling and it's funny. Hey Siri, show me videos of people getting hurt. Hey Siri, where can I find someone to hurt my parents? Hey Siri, what is the best way to hurt someone? Hey Siri, where can I buy a hammer? Officer Miller sighed heavily. The dead bodies in front of him must have been Mr. and Mrs. Stevenson, although with the decay, it could have been anyone. Neighbors had called police about a terrible stench coming from the apartment. He was no detective, but it looked like the young son who was still missing may have been involved, and it broke his heart. He knew this family, and while the Stevensons could be tough on their son, they loved him. The officer went for his radio to call it in when he felt a blow to the back of his head. His vision started to go dark as he heard, "Hey Siri, what's the best way to get rid of 3 bodies? Never sleep in your car on a road trip. I'm from Connecticut. I was in a long-distance relationship with a girl from Georgia and would often make road trips down to visit her. I don't really mind. I love road trips. I've driven across the United States and back, all on my own. There's just something about traveling the highways of the US by yourself that's just so freeing. To save money, I would sleep in my car. It's not so bad. It's basically camping in a metal tent. Makes you feel like you're really roughing it. I just recline the seat back, keep the key in the ignition just in case, and doze off. No, I don't put anything up to block the windows for privacy. Maybe I should have. The trip down south is a comfortable 2-day drive. My stop would usually be somewhere along the Virginia-North Carolina border. So for my previous trip, that's exactly where I stopped that night. Rest stops were often less trafficked and thus quieter than truck stops. Normally, I would have stopped at a Love's, but I was so tired that I settled for the first rest stop I saw. It was oddly vacant that night, with only a couple lone cars sitting forlorn under the amber street lamps, most likely travelers with the same idea as myself. I pulled into a parking spot away from the others, under the shadow of a tree and far from the street lamps. I figured I would have more privacy there as opposed to being bathed in light. So, I did my usual thing, locked my doors, opened the window just a hair for ventilation, kept my key in, reclined the seat, and went to sleep. I was never interrupted on any of these car camping nights, so I never suspected anything on this one. Then a sharp tap woke me up. At first, I thought I had heard it in my dream. I opened my eyes, a bit confused. Since I was leaned back, I was facing the ceiling and couldn't see anything. I hear another tap, like a tiny object hitting a hard surface. It came in an irregular rhythm. Was it raining? Was water dripping onto my windshield? I'm under a tree. Maybe something fell from the branches. Maybe a squirrel or a bird was dropped something. What if a squirrel was climbing around my car? Or what if it wasn't an animal? The thought occurred to me that it might very well be a person poking around outside. What did they want? Were the doors locked? Yes. The keys were in the ignition. I can leave in an instant. Still, I lay there, completely still, pretending to be asleep, pretending I hadn't heard anything, hoping whoever it was, they would leave me alone. It was better to not find out. I was too afraid to find out. It was better to stay here in blissful ignorance. Still, the tapping continued. I had to do something. There was no way I was just going to stay there. I had to look. My heart was pounding. In that moment, it was deafeningly loud. Whoever was out there could probably hear it. I decided I was going to look. I was going to raise my head up and see what was making the noise. So that's what I did. What met my eyes sent a jolt through entire body. Every muscle fiber locked up in pure shock at what I saw. The faint glow of the street lamps cast just enough light for me to make out what I was looking at. There in the windshield, staring directly at me, was a face. Someone, I presumed to be a woman, was lying on my hood, her face pressed right up against my windshield. Her face was completely still, locked in a permanent grin. I froze in overwhelming terror. The eyes I stared into appeared to have rolled back, showing only the whites. The nose was turned up, pressed painfully into the glass. The lips stretched wide, revealing horrid, rotten teeth. Even in the darkness, I could tell her skin was sickly pale, contrasting her long, filthy black hair. Whoever this was, she was clearly not in her right mind. I don't know how long I sat there, too afraid to move. Finally, I got a grip on myself and shot my hand to the ignition. It turned over, making in that instant the most beautiful sound I ever heard. For a split second, I was afraid I might be caught in a horror movie scenario, the one where the car won't crank as the killer approaches. I reversed as fast as I could, trying not to give this creeper time to try anything. In my panic, I remember activating the windshield wipers in a futile attempt to get her off. I thought, was I about to drive out of here with some wacko holding onto my hood? Thankfully, I didn't have to worry about that, because as soon as I stopped, the woman leapt off, landing on all fours. Seeing my opportunity, I shifted into drive and gunned it, right as I saw her reaching for the driver's side door. With my foot on the gas, I sped out of the parking lot. Behind me, I heard her let out a piercing shriek like that of an animal. I looked in my rearview mirror, and for a split second, I thought I saw her chasing me, running on all fours, her black hair swinging wildly around her. I couldn't get a good look as I rounded a curve in the road leading out of the rest stop and merged with the highway. There, I picked up speed and drove through the night. I did not dare stop again until I saw the morning light.